So good morning everyone. I hope you're doing well today. And for today's discussion, let's make ourselves more motivated despite of the struggles that we've been through in these trying times. We just have to remember that God is faithful. He knows what's best for us. All we need to do is to be still and be hopeful. So before anything else, we just want to introduce ourselves. By the way, I'm Jonah Cervantes.
I'm Angelica Ubas.
I'm Giselle E. Torion.
Hello everyone, I am Sherlyn Himilian.
I am Angel May Bergamento.
Good morning everyone, I am Julita V. Barangan.
Good day everyone, I am Thea Roldan Bimbaga.
And I am Gwen Montaire.
So today we will discuss a topic as part of the lesson 5, which is the development of the varied traditional assessment tools. So the type of paper pencil test that we are going to discuss is about how to construct true or false type of test through using 7 rules that serves as the guide to construct a test with validity and reliability, where it measures what intends to be measured and also a consistency to ensure high quality assessment. So at the end of this discussion, students are able to identify and explain the characteristics of true or false type of test, understand the advantages and limitations of true or false type of test, and construct test with underlying rules of constructing true or false items.
So true or false is a very well-known kind of test that is always included in every examinations. And also this kind of test, it can make the students feel happy, relieved, and delighted because of course there are just 2 options in every question. So hindi talaga siya masyadong mahirap para sa mga mag-aaral. So in this kind of test, true or false also has a disadvantage and advantage. So the advantage of this is the teacher can ensure or can see those students who really understand the topic and those students who are just guessing. So the disadvantage is that occasionally it cannot really fully test the knowledge of the students because you can just simply choose whether the answer is true or false. So you still have a chance to get the correct answer even if you have no prior knowledge to the content of the examinations. And that situation is really true. So in making a true or false items, you should be mindful in creating questions, organize, follow some rules, and most importantly, it can test the knowledge of the students to see if they really understand the topic. So rule number 1 is do not give hint in the body of the questions. So example questions of this are, the planet Venus has no moon, or communication without feedback is successful. So in that questions, the answers are too obvious. So in constructing a questions in true or false, avoid making the answers too simple or obvious for the students. Instead, encourage them to investigate, use their critical thinking and understanding about the topic.
Rule number 2. Avoid using words always, never, often, or other adverbs that can tend to be either always true or always false. Since the students need to think only a single incident so that they can easily choose the correct answer. For example, Filipinos always celebrate New Year without using firecrackers or any instruments that can make sounds. So, in the given statement, learners can understand or answer the item because we all know that Filipinos already use in celebrating New Year every year with firecrackers as one of our tradition. So the word without conclude that the statement is false.
So here's the rule number 3. Avoid long sentences as these tend to be true. Keep sentences short. So in constructing true or false and other alternative responses type of test requires teachers to be aware on this. The point is that in constructing a test, particularly true or false and other alternative responses type of paper pencil test, it is very important to use short and simple sentences that help students to avoid confusion. And test validity and reliability should not be underemphasized, rather should be prioritized. So let's take this example. Tests need to be valid, reliable, and useful, although it would require a great amount of time and effort to ensure that the test possess these test characteristics. So in this example, we notice that the statement is true, right? And we also notice that the statement is quite long. However, we are not sure which part of the sentence is deemed or considered as true by the students. So, if we revise that example, let's say the test needs to be valid, reliable, and useful. It's more to help students to identify whether the statement is true or false. Because if the statement is too long, the students can encounter difficulty in answering, and through that, we cannot really measure the students' knowledge, because test validity requires that it measures what intends to be measured. That's why in constructing true or false, it is very essential to use short sentences. So in constructing true or false and other alternative responses, the presence of rule number 3 is very essential, as it provides students test validity and reliability, which is part of the principles of high quality assessment.
Rule number 4. Avoid tweak statement with some mirror misleading word or spelling anomaly, misplaced phrases, and etc. A wise student who does not know the subject matter may detect this strategy and thus get the answer correctly. For example, true or false. Write true if the statement is correct and write false if the statement is incorrect. Statement number 1. Rabbits eat carrot. The underlined word is rabbits. Since the underlined word is misspelled, it's easy for your students to arrive to the correct answer. The entire sentence takes a different meaning that makes the sentence false. So, the revised sentence will be rabbits eat carrot. Statement number 2. Fish live in land. The underlined word is land. That makes the sentence incorrect because we already know that fish lives in water and not in land. So, as a teacher, you really need to be careful in constructing your test item if you really want to dig deeper on the understandings of your students. Allow them to think and analyze things out, and not just by giving them questions which the answer is pretty obvious and easy to detect with. To be an effective teacher, you need to keep in mind the principles of high quality assessment for you to be guided.
Now let's proceed to the rule number 5 in conducting true or false test. Avoid quoting verbatim from reference materials or textbook. This practice sends the wrong signal to the students that it is necessary to memorize the textbook word for word, and thus acquisition of higher level thinking skills is not given due to importance. So as much as possible, in conducting true or false test, we should avoid taking the exact words that stated from the textbook or in the other learning materials that we were going to use. Example, According to the textbook, alcoholism is a disease. Meaning to say, if we are going to use quote verbatim coming from the books, we are just prioritizing memorization and letting the students memorize what is the context of what is inside the book. We are not prioritizing comprehension or the understanding of the students. So we should avoid quoting verbatim from our reference materials when conducting true or false tests.
And now let's go to rule number 6. It's just quite the same with rule number 2. So avoid using specific determinants or giveaway qualifiers. These words are never, no, often, always, sometimes, generally, frequently, and many more. Why? Why we should avoid using it? Because this will serve as hints for the students to determine if the statements are true or false. We know that students nowadays are wiser. They have some techniques and learn that if the statement uses strong words such as never, no, all, or always, it will more likely to be false. And if they see that the statement uses moderate words such as many, frequently, sometimes, generally, or some, this will be more likely to be true. So it is usually the techniques of the students or basement to know that the statement is true or false, which make the test ineffective. Why? Because students doesn't need to understand or analyze the statement or even the topic, because they will automatically answer or guess what is the answer because of a simple words or qualifiers. So that's why it should be avoided.
Good day, I am Gwen Montero, and today I was assigned to discuss rule number 7 of true or false topic. So rule number 7 says that with true or false question, avoid a grossly disproportionate number or either true or false pattern in the occurrence of true and false statements. This simply means that if we're going to make or to use this kind of test, we should avoid pattern. For example, number 1 to 5 is true and number 6 to 10 is false. Another example is number 1 is true, number 2 is false, number 3 is true again, and number 4 is false again. Or another example is from 1 to 10 or all the items is false. And that's all. Thank you.
So for now, let's just focus on advantages of true and false test. True and false test has at least 3 advantages. First advantages is since the questions tends to be short, subject matter can be covered than with any other item form. Second advantages is it less time to construct, but one should avoid taking statements directly from the textbook. This test is only take less time. So as you make this test, one thing you consider is not to get statements directly from the textbook, because it can lead to miscommunication and confusions to the students who will answer the test. Third and last advantages of true and false test is scoring is easier in a true and false question. Next, let's proceed to the limitations of true and false test. In the limitations of true and false, there is also 3 limitations, just like in the advantages of true and false test. And these are: first limitations is tends to emphasize rote memorization of knowledge. Second is presume that the answer to the question on issue is unequivocally true or false. Third is allows for and sometimes encourages a high degree of guessing.
So as conclusion, true or false questions are well suited for testing students' recall or comprehension. This type of test must be planned carefully in order for teacher to measure students' knowledge and evaluate the effectivity of the test instruments projected to the learning outcomes and principles of high-quality assessment.